Hello, Buddy here. I did another video just a little while ago about Will Durant's Economics and History. I love Will Durant's rendition, the way he tells history, and the way he makes the judgment of history also. So I just really had a wild hair up my ass and decided I wanted to read another chapter of my book, The Lessons of History. So this is a signed copy from Will Durant. I said it in the other video. I read another random chapter then. So he's actually put his own little marks inside the book, and it was his personal book. So I'm going to read you guys Morals and History. Morals are the rules by which a civilization exhorts, as laws are the rules by which it seeks to compel its members and associations to behavior consistent with its order, security, and growth. So for 16 centuries, the Jewish enclaves in Christendom maintained their continuity and internal peace by a strict and detailed moral code, almost without help from the state and its laws. A little knowledge of history stresses the variability of moral codes and concludes that they are negligible because they differ in time and place, and sometimes contradict each other. A larger knowledge stresses the universality of moral codes and concludes to their necessity. Moral codes differs because they adjust themselves to historical and environmental conditions. If we divide economic history into 3 stages, hunting, agriculture, and industry, we may expect that moral code of one stage will be changed in the next. In hunting stage, a man had to be ready to chase and fight and kill. When he had caught his prey, he ate the cubic capacity of his stomach, being uncertain when he might eat again. Insecurity is the mother of greed, as cruelty is the memory, if only in the blood of a time when I'm getting goosebumps already. Test of survival, as now between states, was the ability to kill, presumably the death rate in men, so often risking their lives in the hunt, was higher than in women. Some men had to take several women, and every man was expected to help women to frequent pregnancy. Pugnacity, brutality, greed, and sexual readiness were advantages in the struggle for existence. Probably every vice was once a true, i.e., a quality making for the survival of the individual, the family, or the group. Man's sins may be relics of his rise rather than the stigmata of his fall. History does not tell us just when men passed from hunting to agriculture, perhaps in the Neolithic age, and through the discovery that grain could be sown to add to spontaneous growth of wild wheat. We may reasonably assume that the new regime demanded new virtues, and demanded some old virtues into vices. Industriousness became more vital than bravery, regularity and thrift more profitable than violence, peace more victorious than war. Children were economic assets. Birth control was made immoral. On the farm, the family was the unit of production under the discipline of the father of the season and the seasons, and the paternal authority had a firm economic base. Each normal son matured soon in his mind and self-support. At 15, he understood the physical tasks of life as well as he would understand them at 40. All that he needed was land, a plow, and a willing arm. So he married early, almost as soon as nature wished. He did not fret long under the restraints placed upon the premarital relations by the new order of permanent settlements and homes. As for young women, chastity was indispensable, for its loss might bring unprotected motherhood. Monogamy was demanded by the approximate numerical equality of the sexes. For 1,500 years, this agricultural moral code of continence, early marriage, divorceless monogamy, and multiple maternity maintained itself in Christian Europe and its white colonies. It was a stern code which produced some of the strongest characters in history. Gradually, then rapidly and ever more widely, the Industrial Revolution changed the economic form and moral superstructure of European and American life. Men, women, and children left home and family authority and unity to work as individuals, individually paid, in factories built to the house, not men but machines. To house not men but machines. Every decade, the machines multiplied and become more complex. Economic maturity, the capacity to support a family, came later. Children no longer were economic assets. Marriage was delayed. Premarital continence became more difficult to maintain. The city offered every discouragement to marriage, but it provided every stimulus to and facility for sex. Women were emancipated, i.e. industrialized, and contraceptives enabled them to separate intercourse from pregnancy. The authority of father and mother lost its economic base through the growing individualism of industry. The rebellious youth was no longer constrained by surveillance of the village. He could hide his sins in the protective anonymity of the city crowd. The progress of science raised the authority of the test tube over that of the crosier. The mechanism of economic production suggested mechanistic, materialistic philosophies. Education spread religious doubts. Morality lost more and more of its supernatural supports. The agricultural moral code began to die. Whoa! In our time, as in the times of Socrates, 399 BC, and Augustus, 14 AD CE. War has added to the forces making for morality laxity. After the violence and social disruption of the Peloponnesian War, Alcibiades felt free to flout the moral code of his ancestors, and, this is a hard one, Thromachus could announce that might was only right. After the wars of Marius and Sulla, Caesar and Pompey, Antony and Octavius, Rome was full of men who had lost their economic footing and their moral stability. Soldiers who had tasted adventure and had learned to kill. Citizens who had seen their savings consumed in the taxes and inflation caused by war. Women dizzy with freedom, multiplying divorcees, abortions, and adulteries. A shallow sophistication prided itself on pessimism and cynicism. It is almost a picture of European and American cities after 2 world wars. History offers some consolation by reminding us that the sin flourished in every age. That sin has flourished in every age. Even our generation has not yet reviled the population of homosexuality in ancient Greece, or Rome, or Renaissance Italy. The humanists wrote about it with a kind of scholarly affection, and Ariosto judged that they were all addicted to it. Aretino asked the Duke of Manuta to send him an attractive boy. Prostitution had been perennial and universal, from the state-regulated brothels of Assyria to the nightclubs of Western Europe and American cities today. In the University of Wittenberg in 1544, according to Luther, the race of girls is getting bold and run after the fellows into their rooms and chambers and whenever they can, and offer them their free love. Montaigne tells us that his time, 1533 to 92, obscene literature found in a ready market. The immorality of our stage differs in a kind rather than the degree of the restoration of England. The John Cleland's Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure, a veritable catena of coitus, was as popular in 1749 as in 1965. By the way, this book was written in 1968, so it is old. It is a very old book. It's great outlooks. I love them. I absolutely love them. We have noted the discovery of dice in the excavations near the site of Nevia. Men and women have gambled in every age. In every age, men have been dishonest and governments have been corrupt. Probably less now than generally before. The pamphlet literature of the 16th century Europe groaned with denunciations of the wholesale adulteration of food and other products. Man has never reconciled himself to the Ten Commandments. We have seen Voltaire's view of history as mainly a collection of crimes, follies, and misfortunes of mankind, and Gibbon's echo of the summary. We must remind ourselves that, again, that history, as usually written, peccavimus. I can't do that one. Is quite different from history as usually lived. The historian records the exceptional because it is interesting, because it is exceptional. If all those individuals who had no Boswell had found their numerically proportionate place in the pages of historians, we should have duller but juster view of the past and of man. Behind the red facade of war and politics, misfortune and poverty, adultery and divorce, murder and suicide, were millions of orderly homes, devoted marriages, men and women kindly and affectionate, troubled and happy with children. Even in recorded history, we find so many instances of goodness, even of nobility, that we can forgive, though not forget, the sins. The gifts of charity have almost equaled the cruelties of battlefields and jails. How many times, even in our sketchy narratives, we have seen men helping one another. Farinelli provided for the children of Domenico Scarlatti. Divers people coloring young Hayden. Divers people succoring young Hayden. Conate Lita, paying the names. The names, guys. Paying for Johann Christian, Bach's studies of Bologna, Joseph Black's advancing money repeatedly to James Wyatt, Puckberg patiently lending to Mozart. Who will dare to write the history of human goodness? So we cannot be sure that the moral laxity of our times is a herald of decay, rather than a pitiful or delightful transition between a moral code that has lost its agricultural basis and another that our industrial civilization has yet to forgive into social order and normity. Meanwhile, history assures us that civilization's decay, quite leisurely, for 250 years after moral weakening began in Greece with the sophist Hellenic civilization, continued to produce masterpieces of literature and art. Roman morals began to decay soon after the conquered Greeks passed into Italy, but Rome continued to have great statesmen, philosophers, poets, and artists until the death of Marcus Aurelius. Politically, Rome was at nadir when Caesar came, yet it did not quite succumb to the barbarians till A.D. 465. May we take as long to fall as did Imperial Rome.
May we take as long to fall as did Imperial Rome.
There we go. Maybe I should just be reading in that voice, huh?
Perhaps discipline will be restored in our civilization through the military training required by challenges of war. The freedom of the part varies with the security of the whole. Individualism will diminish in America and England as geographical protection ceases. Sexual license may cure itself through its own excess. Our unmoored children may have see order, modesty become fashionable. Nothing will be more stimulating than nudity. Meanwhile, much of our moral freedom is good. It is pleasant to be reviled in the theological terrors. Relieved of the theological terrors, to enjoy without qualm the pleasures that harm neither ourselves or others or ourselves, and to feel the tang of open air upon our liberated flesh. That was it. That was the chapter. Good conclusion. I like that. It's been a long time since I've read it. I've read it before. I've read this whole book like multiple times. May he rest in peace. Will Durant was a genius. I really love how he says that. I mean, the names are difficult. They really are difficult. It's tough to read the names. But it's so beautiful the way he writes it, and the way he's just spot on. Well, I'm going to try to keep this video kind of short. It's only 4 minutes shorter than the other one. That way I can upload it. It took forever to upload last time. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Mr. Buddy. I guess you could call me Mr. Buddy. I am a history student, by the way. I don't think I really introduced myself. You get it at the end of the second video. How about we do this? So I'm Mr. Buddy. Right now I am a substitute teacher, and I am getting my degree in history. I just found out that I graduate this next spring, and I'm really excited about that. Like, straight up. Totally excited about it. You get to graduate. I cut my finger today. It's not good. Sliced my thumb. And I'm going to get my bachelor's in history, major history, minor communication. And then I'm going to start working on my master's. And then I'm going to start, just keep on going. And I want to be a professor one day. It's my end goal. So I absolutely love history. I love Will Durant, and I figured that I post a couple videos about him. So have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry my room's a mess.